Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin this morning in Venezuela, where President Nicolas Maduro has strongly condemned a decision by the United States to place further sanctions on the country. The sanctions were approved by the U.S. Senate on Monday and will target government officials who have been arbitrarily accused of human rights violations. No sanctions were proposed for anti-government groups that led a deadly wave of violence in the country earlier this year. Maduro warns that sanctions will only worsen U.S.-Venezuelan relations. And in Mexico, leaders at the Ibero-American Summit have announced their support for Argentina in its ongoing battle against vulture fund creditors. These are a group of bondholders who bought up Argentine debt and are now suing the country for more than double its return. Now, in a special statement, the leaders insisted that every state has the right to negotiate the restructuring of its debt without facing obstruction by dubious interests. They also expressed absolute rejection to groups who obstruct the negotiating process.
Nuestras naciones juntas en materia de cultura y educación.
Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto closed the 24th annual Ibero-American Summit on Tuesday. The event has largely been considered a success despite being held amid mass protests and political tensions in the country. The meeting ended in Veracruz state with leaders agreeing to create social education and culture policies and using innovation as a way to overcome social inequalities. And continuing at the Ibero-American Summit, Guatemala, Salvador, and Honduras presented U.S. officials with a $5 billion plan to at least reduce the migrant exodus toward the United States. The proposals contemplate matching Washington funding that U.S. officials say is necessary to deal with the flood of migrants. That sparked a crisis this summer. The plan is primarily based on boosting economic growth with infrastructure investment in the three Central American countries. Meanwhile, in Mexico City, the parents of the 43 disappeared students from the state of Guerrero took their case to the Mexican Senate on Tuesday. The parents pleaded with lawmakers to put pressure on the federal authorities in their investigation and search for the students who went missing September 26. The parents also presented a petition to the senators to suspend all elections in the state of Guerrero until their children are returned. Elections in Guerrero are scheduled for 2015. U.S. President Barack Obama has offered assistance to Mexico in its ongoing search for the students. Obama offered Mexico U.S. forensic expertise with the investigation and to contribute to improving the country's criminal justice system. Obama calls Mexico's drug trafficking a chronic problem, pointing out that trafficking groups have taken complete control of towns and regions. Speaking at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Peru on Tuesday, Bolivian President Evo Morales attacked developed countries for exasperating the climate change over the years. The indigenous leader noted that over the last 30 years, nothing has changed in the manner that developed nations manage their carbon emissions, continuously refusing to reduce emissions. He also emphasized that developing countries are the ones that feel the worst impacts of global warming and are wrongfully and historically the least responsible. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon echoed Morales' statements and expressed profound concern about the slow pace of world action on climate change. Speaking at the opening ceremony of high-level UN talks in Lima, Peru on Tuesday, Ban Ki-moon called on developed countries to provide the financial support needed to address climate change worldwide. He also urged developed nations to pledge up to $10 billion to the Green Climate Fund. Australia is the only major developed nation which has not contributed to the fund. The Colombian peace talks in Havana, Cuba will resume today after being put on hold for over 2 weeks when a Colombian general was detained by FARC rebels. The general was found in FARC-held territory under dubious circumstances in civilian clothing without military guards. Colombian social and political organizations will hold a nationwide demonstration on Wednesday to support the resumption of peace talks between the government and FARC rebels. UN human rights official Ben Emerson says the CIA torture report reveals crimes by U.S. officials that constitute a violation of international law. Emerson says Washington is legally obligated to bring those responsible to justice and prosecute it. The CIA report was released yesterday by the Senate, revealing that the agency routinely lied to the government and that its methods were more brutal and ineffective than previously thought. In Washington, President Obama sought to reassure Latinos who signed up for the deportation relief under his new immigration policy that they will be safe. Obama says Latinos will not be in jeopardy if his White House successor tries to overturn the action. Obama's controversial executive action removed the threat of deportation for nearly 5 million undocumented immigrants. Under the policy, eligible undocumented immigrants must submit to background checks and start paying taxes in order to legalize their status. In Washington, Congress has unveiled a $1.1 trillion spending bill that aims to avoid a government shutdown at midnight Thursday. The spending measure was expected to be put onto a House of Representatives vote Thursday. But to enable Senate passage, a short-term extension of 1 to 2 days was being prepared. The measure largely leaves fiscal 2015 domestic spending unchanged, while adding funds to fight Islamic State militants in Iraq and Syria and to fight Ebola in West Africa. Immigration funding will be discussed in February.
Mr. Bennett.
Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great Wednesday.